So thank you, brothers and sisters. It is so wonderful to receive such a warm welcome. And I always feel at home in a house of labor because I grew up in a house of labor. And my daughter, Saithia Lechuga, who is working her way through LA traffic. When I talked to her a minute ago, she's on the freeway. She's been on the freeway for an hour and a half coming from Santa Clarita. But I just have to thank you all for what you have done over these last couple of very difficult years. You kept us fed. You kept us healthy through the pandemic. You were exposed to danger with COVID, I believe, more so than just about anybody. If you think of the traffic that comes through a grocery store, is more than it comes through just about anywhere. And you had to be to work, and you were at work before there was appropriate equipment. You were at work before there was testing, before there was vaccines, and I know that you lost friends, you lost family, you lost colleagues, but you stayed in there every step of the way. And please give yourself a round of applause for your bravery. I remember at the beginning of the campaign meeting with members, and I was all ready to hear about the pandemic. And you talked about the pandemic, of course, but you also talked about the way the city's crisis impacted you, homelessness. I was surprised to hear what you were saying and how the homelessness crisis impacts you every day at work. And that's what made me make the decision to run, because of 40,000 people sleeping on our streets and 4 or 5 of them didn't wake up this morning. That to me is a crisis. That is an emergency. And on day one, I will declare a state of emergency. So right now, we are in a fight for the soul of our city. There's 2 different directions that our city could go in, and I am sorry, but I don't think that a billionaire who has been a developer, who has built housing, but never built one single unit of housing that working people could afford. Rents from $10,000 to the building that would get built under the next mayor, where the penthouse rents for $40,000 a month, is all of a sudden going to understand the plight of working people. But he has a plan for all of us. And frankly, brothers and sisters, that plan is a con. That plan changes from day to day. One time he even said that detention center at the border, Fort Bliss, might be an example of what we could do. His plan calls for herding up and rounding people and warehousing them in shelters. But that was his plan a couple of days ago. There's no telling what his plan will be today. But my plan is to house people immediately, is to make LA safer, and to make LA affordable for working people, because you should only have to work one job to be able to afford rent or a mortgage or to send your kids to college. We need to have a city where we finally start solving homelessness, a city where people feel safe and actually are safe, and a city that doesn't price us out but counts us in. And I know that we can do this. We have a history of collaborating. I've been collaborating with your union for years even before I ever thought about running for office, when I was working in the community, when I went to the epicenter of the last crisis we had in the 1990s. When we had 1,000 homicides, and I went to the epicenter of that crisis. We can come together. We have always done that. That's what working people do. That's how we solve our problems. We don't have $80 million to buy an election. Can you imagine how many people would have been housed for the $80 million that Rick Caruso has spent disparaging me and creating a new image for himself? Thousands of people could have been housed with that. We can't elect a con. We have to elect a person who has spent her entire life fighting on behalf of working people.